Howdy y'all, it's Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom. How you doing? So I wanted to just talk for a moment about something that, well, first off, I just need to say I'm sorry that I didn't catch it all when I did the preview for the Warhammer 40k stuff for Minotaur Field Manual, the rules commentary. I think that's what it was called as well. I also hope you just enjoy some gameplay of Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. In the background, it's just of a dungeon, so it's not going to give you like spoilers to the story or anything. It's just a dungeon. The Bellerot Jail, I think, is what it is. It's just fun, interesting, creepy, weird, but fascinating. A lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy that, but I just wanted to talk for a little bit about Warhammer 40k. And down at the very bottom of that whole thing, I should have done this a while back, but I just got frustrated, honestly, thinking about it. And I was like, no, I finally need to talk about it, but it took me a while because of just how aggravating the whole thing was. So down at the very bottom of the thing where it's got Minotaur Field Manual, the rules commentary, we had the FAQ, and you clicked on the FAQ, and then all of a sudden you realize there's way more than just frequently asked questions in this, and it's actually more rules commentary and actual just rulings on exactly, like, not just rulings that's like, no, this is how it works, but no, we're changing this thing. And it really just struck me because I was seeing other people's YouTube videos talking about, like, the movement is different. The movement does everything, other things than what we've got. And, like, that struck me. That's more than just a frequently asked question. That's a rules commentary. Like, that's a change in rules. And this balanced data slate time frame, the Adeptus Mechanicus had massive changes. The Adeptus Sororitas just got their codex, so then they had massive points changes and addressing some things. We get this CP change for the free stratagem stuff, so now it's just -1 instead of just free. We lost quite a few things from Forge World for several factions, and like Necrons got hit pretty hard on that. Well, what do we say about this? What do we truly say? I think, unfortunately, I'm at an odd impasse point of, I feel like Warhammer is moving too fast, too much too fast, and it's really frustrating because I love rules and understanding depths of games and how they play and function. And somebody even said this is like Warhammer 10.5 in one of their videos, and I have to agree that the changes are so drastic here to how movement functions, to how we interact with the stratagems, to how certain stratagems interact, to how weapon profiles change and army. Like, the Adeptus Mechanicus is a completely different army because of how messed up they were. And granted, they needed to be fixed, but on top of all these other changes and losing things and points cost adjustments, I'm just a bit frustrated with what Games Workshop is doing to all of us. And I think another piece that was really important to note, like the Pariah Nexus stuff already has changes to those data cards when this all happened. So these brand new cards to play the missions and the modes already don't actually directly apply. They're not legal on their own anymore. So why purchase these things? Because they've already had to change some of the secondaries or the secret missions to be better or to improve them, which I'm all for improvements, but when you have this much change all at the same time, it frustrates people and it drives them away. And it's so frustrating that, like, I have these armies and now I'm having to, like, relearn how they function and interact in different ways. because of this. And I can't just, that's the other thing, I can't just grab it in one document. So if I went to download right now the rules for Warhammer 40k 10th edition, I would get the basic core rules that have none of the additions that have changed things. And so someone that hadn't been paying attention to some of those pieces, and I get to some extent, like, it's on each person to pay attention to this information. The problem is with online stuff that then it can change more rapidly, which actually isn't of benefit. Because if things can't change rapidly, you have to come out with it correct the first time, right? Like back in the day, if you didn't come out with it right the first time, you had to wait for a whole nother edition to fix something, or somebody, you know, had to do some pretty drastic with like gaming shops to go, here's the update to change this because of the issue. We're sorry, right? Like that would be the case, and it just feels like it's fragmenting and segmenting people. It just reminds me of old DLC functionality in like Call of Duty games, where if you bought the DLC, you could only play that with other people with DLC, but yet they would still put you in lobbies with people that didn't have it, and so they would automatically just drop you back down to whatever the person with the lowest amount of stuff had. So if all they had was the base game, then you were just playing basic maps. And 99% of the time, I was playing basic maps. I was so excited when occasionally the new maps would actually spawn, because that meant everybody in our lobby actually had them, and we got to play them. And then it was really frustrating too, and sometimes they would not vote for the new maps or the DLC maps, and you're like, you're never going to get this chance again. At least play it. I don't even care if it's not your favorite, just play it. We don't get to play on this map, like, ever. So it was always a nice side note whenever they had free to play weekends for some of the DLCs, so you actually got to play with people, because then they all had the maps for a little bit. That was nice. And so Warhammer has taken some of my things that I have purchased and made them legends, which I can still play at home, and that's fine, but now they're going to slowly drop all support for them. And I just think that's frustrating. Like, just stop selling them, come out with a plastic model later if you want, but still just support them. It's not that hard. You don't have to still sell them. I get that then there's certain people that would have it and others don't, but you could also 3D print for home stuff anyway if you just wanted to, I guess. It's just, it's frustratingly sad to watch as a company continues to make poor decision after poor decision that impacts your enjoyment of a game that takes hours upon hours to play anyway, and then they screw it up. They go, we're changing all of this stuff because basically we didn't have it figured out. Okay. Well, it's interesting, right? What changed for Tau? Some points cost adjustments. That's it. But because of the other rules changes, they actually interact quite differently with several things in their different detachments, right? Whoa. There's also just the, Necrons for me. What changed? Well, some points cost adjustments. Wraiths and Doomstalker went up. Points cost adjustments don't bother me at all. Like, that helps adjust things. And then past that, like, the Catans can't teleport like they used to. Okay, I get it. But again, they should have thought about that stuff beforehand. They really should have. Like, playtest. There was one other change that, oh my goodness, I cannot remember what it is. But I know that was the big one that was really, really rough. And that's the thing, like, changes like that on their own aren't really that big a deal. You know, if you have one or two small changes for your faction each time, not bad. That being said, it would be really nice if they would actually still give the core rules updates, So that way we have the most recent up-to-date versions online and don't have to just sift through rules commentaries or frequently asked questions things that actually have rulings that go, no, your movement actually works like this now, and you can pivot and do some crazy shenanigans if you have a round base. Side note, that's broken as all get out that they're allowing. It's going to be more simple, but it's also going, if you just play as, if my part of the model can see your part of the model, then I can fire at you, you're going to have a serious problem on your hands with pivoting with round base stuff. They're going to do some crazy shenanigans with that. Crazy shenanigans. Because you're gonna I can't even like process that very well right now. It's so frustrating. Just that's so stupid. That's so frustrating now. Just to even think about that. We're gonna get so many changes that hurt so much of our player base, you know, and I'm like, I want to play, but at the same time I go, I don't actually know how to play my Tau in a way, because I hadn't even gotten a real good chance to actually try out the new detachments, which was a massive change anyway. And I think that's something they need to keep in mind. There are massive changes going on all the time. And unfortunately, what they have done is change too much too fast. That's my personal opinion. I think they really did. I think they changed too much too fast, and it's going to really hurt their player base. They took things away from them. They changed up massive rules. Yeah, that moving pivot stuff is just, it's going to be a mess, and not a good mess. It's going to be very, very bad, very, very detrimental for the game, because that is going to just, somebody's gonna be like, okay, it really is like, if you're playing with broadsides and you say, if I can see you from my weapon, I can shoot you and fire on you and get you, all of a sudden you can turn the broadside and just pivot for no extra cost of movement or anything, stick the gun, you know, barrel out of the terrain and go, I can see you now and I'm firing. What? And you gain like 2 to 3 inches extra movement potentially, because that barrel is massive. That's crazy. That's crazy. How did somebody write that and say that that's okay? I don't get it. I don't understand. I wish they would play test this stuff and try to do smaller changes that help overall. I think also that's where the devastating wounds thing was in the frequently asked questions. They rules change things in a frequently asked questions document. So bad. So bad. Like, there's 3 separate documents on there. One, I didn't click on the frequently asked questions right then because I didn't think that it would have rules changes directly. It would be more like clarifications on things. And it said, no, it's got actual rules changes. They're not clarifications. Those are changes in there. Why would you put that in frequently asked questions document? And now we have 3 separate documents to play Warhammer 40K right now. And still your old stuff of your core rules that aren't quite up to date, but they are, but they're not. But they're not. And your data sheets that continue to change. There's no point to buy a codex ever in this edition for anything. And even honestly in 9th edition, I kind of wish I hadn't, but yet there was so much information that was helpful for a long time. But then I had to start like putting pieces of paper with just the changes in the back of the book. But now with how much change happens in Warhammer 40K 10th edition, you can't do that. You'd mess up the binding on your book. You'd have so many pages in the back. It'd be thick in the back of that. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, quite the mess. Quite the mess we have found ourselves in. So, what do you think about the Warhammer 40k changes overall? Had some more time, obviously, to think about this, and the more I've thought about it, like, it is a sad state of affairs for Warhammer in general, because this is just going to create, even in the, you know, big tournaments, some confusion on making sure everybody's up to date and on the same page with just how drastic of changes have happened. And somebody could pull out their codex or index stuff, and it would not be correct in any way, and radically change how you even perceive things. And you go, how can I even trust someone if they don't even know the most recent up-to-date rules? Oh my gosh, what a mess. And it's just gotten worse from there, sadly. And yeah, well, let me know down in the comments below, are you excited because of these changes, or are you still just going, no, this was not good? Maybe you're okay with the faction changes. Like, that's the hard thing too, right? Like, Tau changes weren't bad. In fact, my suits are ready to go and I want to try them, but all the other shenanigans and all the other changes just confuzzle my brain and trying to keep up with everything as I've got other stuff going on. Necrons, most of my stuff plays pretty close to the same, but again, it's the interaction pieces, just how they interact, how the stratagems function. And then on top of that, I gotta still rebuild you know, my forces each time. So I don't know, I just don't think it's gonna be a good thing, and we're gonna see pretty serious issues in the long term. Well, yeah, what do you think about all this? Let me know down in the comments below. Are you happy with the changes? Are you still just like, wow, that was way too much, way too fast? Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your ideas as well. What would you have done? I've been Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Bye, y'all.
battle.